The wife of notorious Mexican drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman.
El Chapo, his wife, is the newest suspect in the government's effort to break up the giant Sinaloa cartel.
Es que lo atiendan y que pues apliquen los derechos humanos con él. No estamos pidiendo algo otra cosa, solamente que lo dejen descansar. Él nunca había sufrido depresión alta, ni tiene antecedentes de su familia, ni nada.
This was Emma Coronel Espero, El Chapo's wife, doing her best to help her husband, who is currently serving a life sentence plus 30 years in prison. Not an ordinary prison, but the Colorado Supermax prison that every criminal fear. El Chapo, whose real name is Joaquin Archibaldo Guzman Lorera, was born in La Tuna, a small town in Sinaloa, in 1954. He was from a humble family and lived with his younger siblings. His father, Emilio Guzman Bustillo, was a peasant dedicated to sowing opium. He abandoned his studies to dedicate himself to the sale of oranges. His mother made bread to support the family. He sold oranges, soft drinks, and candy. We sow corn and beans. How does a man from a poor, normal, and humble family end up in one of the worst jails? You will find out soon. Stick with us. El Chapo has proven to be a wily prisoner. In 2001, he was smuggled out of a top security Mexican prison in a laundry basket. In 2015, he escaped from Altiplano prison in central Mexico, where he slipped into an escape hatch beneath his shower and rode a motorcycle through a mile-long, hand-dug tunnel to freedom. La Tuna, where El Chapo was born, has been one of the leading centers of weed and poppy production for 6 decades. In the mid-1980s, Guzman formed his band with his homie El Guerrero and his uncle Pedro Aviles Perez. It was a small group of about 25 people who collaborated with Guadalajara cartel, founded by who was then considered the largest drug dealer in Mexico, Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo, aka the Godfather. While working for Gallardo, Joaquin was involved in buying some shipments of cocaine from Colombia. However, when the Godfather was arrested in 1989, the Guadalajara cartel was divided, and the field was left open for Chapo's ambition. This is where El Chapo's whole life will take another level. This is how the Sinaloa cartel was born, which in a short time began a bloody dispute with other ex-partners of Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo, the Arellano Felix brothers, heads of the Tijuana cartel. On 9th of June 1993, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, the former leader of the Sinaloa cartel, was arrested in Guatemala following a massive manhunt to stop him and other drug traffickers involved in the murder of the Mexican cardinal Juan Jesus Posadas Ocampo, who was mistakenly killed by the Tijuana cartel during an attack aimed at Guzman. Following his arrest, he was extradited to Mexico and imprisoned at the Federal Social Redemption Center, a maximum security prison in Almoloya de Juarez, state of Mexico. November 1995, he was transferred to the maximum security prison, Federal Social Readaptation Center in Jalisco. He was sentenced to 20 years in prison, but while he lived in Puente Grande, Guzman enjoyed a comfortable lifestyle. He had most of the people working in the jail under his payroll, ordered the meals he wanted from a menu, continued his illicit activities through cell phone, enjoyed sporadic visits from prostitutes, among other benefits. However, under fears of being extradited to the United States for pending charges of drug trafficking, Guzman orchestrated his escape from Puente Grande. As revealed by Lorera's former partner in the trial, Juan Carlos Ramirez, the Mexican drug lord earned more than $640 million from selling cocaine in the United States between 1990 to 1996, while operating the drug trafficking even from inside the Mexico prison. On January 18, 2001, after less than 9 years in prison, the mastermind of the Sinaloa cartel escaped from prison hidden in a laundry cart in a jailbreak in which El Chapo had the participation of 71 people, among them 15 officials of the penitentiary system. The prison security cameras were disabled on his way out, and Guzman became a free man. Guzman was driven out of the prison by Francisco Javier Camberos Rivera, aka El Chito, one of the prison guards, and headed to Guadalajara. At 11:35 p.m. that day, the prison warden, Leonardo Beltran Santana, was notified that Guzman's cell was empty, and chaos within the prison ensued. In Guadalajara, security forces raided a house of one of Guzman's associates, confiscating weapons, drugs, phones, computers, and thousands of dollars in cash, but they did not find their target. After meeting with other Sinaloa cartel leaders a few months after his escape, Guzman re-emerged and was eager to prove that his time in prison had not softened his personality and that his position and status among the cartel hierarchy was stronger than before. He spent most of 2001 transversing numerous hideouts across Mexico, acclimating quickly to his new lifestyle as a high-profile drug lord on the run. After his escape, the drug lord established himself as the most wanted character by the Mexican and U.S. authorities. His criminal empire has grown and has established itself as the main criminal organization in the country. On the evening of 21 February 2014, about 40 soldiers of the Mexican Navy assembled in Mazatlan along with a small group of agents from the DEA managed to pinpoint the signal of Guzman's bodyguard, Hu Ramirez's cell phone, to the hotel. At the same time, on the 4th floor, a group of 6 soldiers made their way to apartment number 401, where they discovered the bodyguard guarding the entrance with an AK-47. Outnumbered, he surrendered his weapon while the authorities entered the apartment. In one of the bedrooms, the soldiers discovered Guzman's chef, a babysitter, and the drug lord's 2 daughters. In the other bedroom were Guzman and his wife. No shots were fired, and in less than 3 minutes following the raid, Guzman was arrested. By his arrest, Guzman was regarded as the world's most wanted criminal and the top leader of the Sinaloa cartel, a drug trafficking organization whose influence stretched across several continents. The arrest news was leaked to the press by anonymous U.S. law enforcement officials that same morning, and the story was quickly shared and reached international headlines. For many Mexicans, the arrest of Guzman paralleled in importance with the killing of Pablo Escobar and even the death of Osama bin Laden. Though the idea of Guzman as a near-legendary criminal remained high, the arrest greatly reduced his status in Mexico's narco folklore, more to a man than to a myth. On the evening of 11 July 2015, Guzman escaped from the Federal Social Readaptation Center by going through a 1.5-kilometer tunnel found in the shower area in his cell. That was the second time the Sinaloa cartel leader El Chapo evaded the Mexican prison. Mexico offered 60 million Mexican pesos for information leading to his new apprehension, while the United States, which considered him one of the most wanted criminals, offered $5 million. On January 8, 2016, it was said that naval personnel received citizen information on the whereabouts of the drug trafficker. There was a shootout and a member of the Navy was injured. During the operation, 5 suspects were killed and another 6 were arrested, along with the drug lord. Drug lord El Chapo Guzman was recaptured 7 months after escaping prison. He was then extradited to the U.S., where he was sentenced to life plus 30 years in prison. He is now at a federal prison in Florence, considered escape-proof, where ultra-violent prisoners once beat an enemy to death, and one inmate descended so far into madness he bit off both his pinky fingers. The federal government is very concerned about his ongoing contact with just about anyone, since they fear he will send messages related to drug smuggling. So, his isolation will be extreme, said Dr. Terry Coopers, a psychiatrist who wrote a book about the psychological impact of long-term solitary confinement at Supermax. After a quarter-century of operation, no one has ever escaped Supermax. Prison inmates have been diagnosed with insanity while incarcerated there, or existing conditions of mental illness have worsened, according to a 2012 class action lawsuit against the U.S. Bureau of Prisons. Prisoners have been known to interminably wail and bang on the walls of their cells, the lawsuit claims. Most of Supermax's 400-plus inmates are alone for 23 hours a day in 7 by 12-foot reinforced concrete cells. Massive 12-gun guard towers overlook the prison. The Amnesty International report said the cells have an interior barred door and a solid outer door, compounding the sense of isolation. Prisoners eat all meals in their cells, and most cells have a shower and a toilet, minimizing the need for inmates to leave. Cell furniture includes a small desk, stool, and bed made from concrete. Beds have thin mattresses. Each cell has a window that is 42 inches tall and 4 inches wide, without mountain views. Many cells have a radio and black and white television that offers religious and educational programming. All outside visits are non-contact, with prisoners separated from their visitors by a glass screen. Supermax has an ultra-secure unit, Range 13, a 4-cell wing in the prison's disciplinary branch where prisoners have virtually no human contact. They are under camera surveillance 24 hours a day and get one 15-minute, non-legal phone call a month. Former Supermax inmate Jack Powers spent nearly 10 years in the disciplinary unit. He bit off both pinky fingers, severed his earlobes, and cut off a testicle and his scrotum. The class action lawsuit claims the lawsuit has led to reforms related to inmates' mental health, but is still pending. Even Robert Hood, a former Department of Justice senior executive, warden, chief internal affairs, and national security specialist responsible for the most secure federal prison in the United States between 2002 and 2005, offered harsh criticism of the facility. "This is not built for humanity. I think that being there, day by day, it's worse than death," he said. "To me, there is no doubt he will try to escape. As far as his job is, it's to get out. I think he'll test the system," Hood said. The Mafia boss, El Chapo, went from having luxuries to living in a small dark cell with a cement bed, a bathroom, a sink, and a water dispenser. Nothing else. The drug lord's incarceration at the nation's highest security prison, nicknamed the Alcatraz of the Rockies, has brought new attention to the prison that critics consider an incubator for mental illness. He joined some of the nation's most notorious offenders already at the prison, including Unabomber Ted Kaczynski, Oklahoma City bombing conspirators Terry Nichols, and 1993 World Trade Center bomber Ramzi Youssef. On April 21, 2005, gangland leader Richard Chapo Santiago and an accomplice stomped and beat Mexican Mafia prison gang leader Manuel Tati Torres, 64, leaving him with 18 broken ribs and a cracked skull. His eyes were swollen shut. Torres died of his injuries. According to his lawyers, they fear that he may suffer from situations that prisoners suffer in that place over time. There were reports that some convicts even mutilated part of their bodies due to the extreme anxiety that such confinement causes them.